Ladies and gents, welcome back to another video. Inside this box is an iPhone 8 Plus, and today I'm going to do a little review on it here in 2024, and we're going to see if this is a good deal or not. So let's get it opened up and see what kind of condition it's in. And here is the iPhone. We also got a 12-watt USB charger. So this is the one that was included in most of the iPads before 2018. We also have a third-party lightning cable. My hopes for this are pretty low considering my experience in the past. A lot of these older third parties cables don't work. They give an incompatibility message. But here's the iPhone. Before we begin, I just want to give it a little clean. I like to do that on all of the used products I get just to be safe and to see what kind of condition it's really in. Okay, here is our iPhone 8 Plus. And taking a look here at the back, it looks like it's in really good condition. We might have a scratch right there. No, we don't. That's just dust. So the back is basically flawless. The bottom looks pretty good. Maybe just a few minor scuff marks around the lightning port there. Power button here on the side looks very nice. And the volume buttons do have some scuff marks. And the mute lock switch is functioning, but I don't know if it's actually going to work. We'll find out in a minute. And of course, the display here looks to be in very nice condition as well. Certainly no cracks, and I'm really not seeing any scratches either. Let's see if this iPhone has any charge. And it does. There is our Apple logo. We'll let that boot up. And while we do, here is an iPod Touch 4th gen that I have jailbroken and added a bunch of apps and games. If you missed that video, be sure to check it out. I'll leave it linked in the description of this video. And we got Instagram here. We'll see if that loads. And it does. I don't know if you can actually log in, but hey, it's worth a try. All right, I digress. Here is our iPhone 8 Plus. Let me get through the setup screen, and once we make it to the home screen, we'll talk about this thing and see if it's a good value here in 2024. Okay, here we go. I got through the setup screen there, and we are at the home screen. So our applications are going to go ahead and download there. It looks like they are basically done. First things first, let's head into settings and check the specs of our iPhone 8 Plus. All right, so we're running iOS 16.7.2. That might be the most up-to-date version that this iPhone supports. We also have 64GB model, which is the base configuration. Let's check the battery health because that's important on a device of this age. And 81%, that's not terrible. I've seen some of these down in the mid 70s. And it says the battery is functioning normal, so that's a good sign. So let's check. I think that's the most up-to-date version of iOS that this iPhone supports, but let's find out. Okay, we do get 16.7.4, so probably a minor update. We're not going to do that right now. So iPhone 8 Plus, this is Apple's last large iPhone in the older style form factor. So you've still got the home button, you've got these large bezels at the top and the bottom. Around to the back, we have 2 cameras as opposed to 3 on the new flagship models. We've got an all black finish, which is super nice. Glass back, which allowed for wireless charging. This was the first iPhone, the 8 and 8 Plus, that supported wireless charging. This was also the first iPhone with the ability to record video in 4K 60 frames per second. Up until then, starting with the iPhone 6S, we got 4K 30, and the iPhone 7 also got 4K 30. You can see here we have 4K 60, and I thought you could switch between those, but maybe not. Of course, we've got the 1x normal lens, and we have a 2x telephoto lens. This was the second iPhone to feature portrait mode. We got that starting with the iPhone 7 Plus, and the 8 Plus followed suit. So the iPhone 8 Plus, I suppose technically it's considered a flagship model because it was Apple's high-end phone for about 10 minutes until Apple launched the iPhone 10, which really overshadowed it and kind of made this phone feel like a budget phone, if you will. It was not the premium model that you could get from Apple. But that said, this has basically the same specs as the iPhone 10. So you've got the same, I believe, A11 Bionic chip, which is the first version of the Apple chip that is officially known as Bionic, meaning the performance cores and the efficiency cores can work at the same time. I believe the A10 Fusion in the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, only the efficiency or the performance cores could operate at the same time. And that allowed this iPhone to feel really smooth and take some big gains in performance. This iPhone featured 3 gigabytes of RAM, which was the same amount seen on the iPhone 7 Plus, but the iPhone 8 only had 2. So you needed to get the Plus variant to get 3 gigs of RAM. You also needed the Plus variant to get the second telephoto lens, as well as the ability to capture portrait photos. So here's a little graph. This is, I think, just a CPU benchmark. Here we've got the iPhone 7 and the iPhone 8 Plus. You can see the performance gains here are pretty significant between the A10 Fusion and the A11 Bionic. So the iPhone 8 Plus and the iPhone 8, for that matter, really took performance to a new level that had not been seen before in smartphones. So should you buy this here in 2024? Well, this is how much I paid for it, and that seemed to be about the market value for these devices. I think that's a really good deal. Now, I didn't actually check if this iPhone is unlocked, and it is. You can see we have no SIM restrictions, which is great. That means this can be used on any carrier worldwide. We do still have a SIM card slot. I believe that was removed, at least here in the United States, with the iPhone 14 series, but you've got that. The iPhone is water resistant. I believe it's 1 meter for 30 minutes, although that might be 2 meters. I don't remember. It's got good performance. The cameras are really solid. They still take good pictures. Unfortunately, you do not get night mode, at least not with the built-in camera. But you've got 4K, 60 FPS video. You've got slow motion and time lapse and all the great features that the iPhone offers. The screen is fairly large. Let's take this iPod, for example. Look at the difference here in the display size. The entire iPod fits inside of the screen here on the 8 Plus. That said, the screen is not as big as the iPhone 11 Pro Max, 12 Pro Max, all the way up through the 15, which is current. But it is still very large, and it's very comfortable to use and type on. You've got the haptic engine for really smooth vibrations on the device. And you also have a decently large battery, although battery life on this is not great. It wasn't until the iPhone 11, which followed a few years later, that Apple really took a stance on battery life and improved it significantly. So with this device, I think you're probably barely going to be able to make it through an entire day without charging your iPhone. Of course, you've got low power mode if you want, but that's going to reduce the CPU and GPU performance capabilities of this device. One last thing to note, this device does not support 5G, so you are still stuck on 4G LTE, which is by no means slow, but if you live in an area with really fast 5G, you're going to miss out on those higher speeds. Wi-Fi is also not quite as fast on this iPhone compared to some of the newer models, but I really don't think you'll notice a big difference with that. All right, I think that's going to do it for this video. That's been a review of the iPhone 8 Plus and also probably the iPhone 8. It's just basically a smaller version of this. Should you buy this in 2024? I think it's a great phone. There's really no known issues with this compared to the iPhone 7 and 7 Plus, which does have several different problems, especially with cellular connectivity. It's a great device, and it's at a really good price point right now. I think it's a good buy. And I think if you're upgrading from an older device or you're getting an iPhone for the first time, this is a fantastic place to start. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you learned something, and I look forward to seeing you in another one of my videos.